Hi everybody, this is a quick introduction to Adobe InDesign. So I'm going to make a new document and wait for it to open. And it's going to give me some options. I'm going to say custom. I'm going to put it in inches myself so I know what's going on. And I want each page to be about 8.5 by 11. You can make any size you want. As far as the orientation, I'm just going to make it like it's a magazine. So it's going to be portrait. And I'm going to make 3 pages. The first page we're not going to print. We just want a 2-page spread like in a magazine. And the rest of it I'm going to leave it as is. So you can see the first page just looks like one piece of paper with some guides on it. I'm going to work on these pages. So double click on the left hand A. You move it over and you can see there's 2 of these long rectangles on each page separated by the line down the middle. That's called a gutter. So I'm going to do this New York Times article. I'm going to copy the title and then I'm going to come over here to my magazine spread. I'm going to put my title on the left hand page and just go ahead and print paste. You can see I used the text tool. I drew a box of where I wanted it to live and then I hit paste. So I actually don't want that on there. Now I didn't really need to do the box. The box is helpful if you've got a lot of text because then it automatically returns for you. But I just want to do a headline. So I pasted that, but now I want to see how big I can make it and the different characters and whatever. I don't want that on there. So I went to view and then I chose type. I want this to be pretty big because it's the headline of my story. I'm going to have it go all the way across the page. Now that's too far. You can see the guidelines. Those are the margins. And if you go past those, it doesn't really matter on the computer. But if this was for print, it wouldn't print correctly. So I could be happy with that font, or I could choose something else. If I wanted to make it look cartoony, I would choose that top one. Maybe I want to make it look a little more robotic since the article is about robotics, right? So that's too big. I like this font, but it disappears, so I'm going to make it a little smaller so I can stretch it all across the page without actually stretching it. I'm going to keep going. There we go. That's good. The brave new world of sports. So now I'm going to copy and paste some of the type, but first I want to think about where I'm going to put my illustration. I think to keep the viewer intrigued, I want to put it on the second page. So to do that, you choose this box this little box here that has a rectangle. Click on that. Let's say you put all this work into the illustration. We're going to put it on the half of the page. So I'm going to draw a box within the margins here. And all that is an invisible box, but if you want to put an image in it, you control click in there and you look for, you would do fitting once it's in there, but first we need to do place, right? So you go file place and then you look for your image. So let's see, I've got a lot of different images here. I'm going to put this random image of a mosaic in there. So I could say I'm happy with that. I could also decide I want it to be a little tighter. If I right click in there, I can choose any one of these fit options. If I choose fit frame to content, it's going to, that actually does the opposite of what you want. That's going to take the image as is and expand it to its original size. So I actually want the image to fit within this square so I can use it in my design. So fit frame proportionally. That sounds good because it's going to squeeze it in there, but it's not going to distort it. So that's pretty good. That's what I wanted. It still looks a little narrow. I can use the direct selection tool, that white arrow, to see what's actually going on in here. Do I want to show the whole thing or just part of it? I think I want to show the whole thing. So you can see once I chose the white arrow tool, it gives me the bounding box. I'm going to hit the shift key, select one to make sure it doesn't get distorted. Move it over. Still too tall. Shift key. That's about right. Right, I really don't want it to look distorted or weird at all, so I'm going to move it in just a little bit more. There we go, that's good. Okay, so I got that all set. I don't need this fitting frame to be so large. I'm going to want to put text underneath it. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is take this content. Now I've read my fill of New York Times stories this month, so it might, I was going to say it might not let me do it, but it looks like it did. Now I want to put all the type on these 2 pages, so I got to see what I'm doing here. The first thing I'm going to do is grab my T tool, and I'm going to draw a box. Now I want it to follow the guide exactly. So each of these long rectangles represents where my text is going to be. I'm going to hit paste, and the default was Minion, which I'm fine with. I can't really see what's going on, but that's fine because what I want to do is I want to make another box right next to it following these guides, and I'm going to link it. So grab that. Actually, let's see. Let me pause this for a second. Okay, so what I did is I copied the upper half. Now I want the more of the bottom half. I didn't realize how long this article is. Come on. A little bit lower. All right, I got it. So this is the second half. I want to grab that. I want to grab the second text box I made. There we go, and hit paste. Is there more in there? Okay, there's more in there, and I know that because there's a little red box here with a plus sign in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another box over here. And again, I'm just trying to fit the frame. I can make it any size. And then I'm going to click on the direct selection tool, click on that box, and then click over here. Click on that box. Okay, I was saying, I interrupted myself there for a second. I was saying click on the box and it wasn't happening. You got to click right in the center until you see this tiny little paragraph show up. When you do, you just click in the new box that you created and it just links them from one to the other. So there is another one, which means I didn't paste it all in there. So again, I'm going to make a box. I'm going to try to get it in the space that's left. If not, then I'm going to go through and edit the type a little bit so it's not a problem. So then get the direct selection tool, click in there like you're serious. All right, nice and hard until you get the paragraph. So then you click inside the new text box. So there's my 2-page spread. I'm not going to stop there because I want it to look professional. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get in there and I'm going to delete these little subheads. Some of them are left over from the interactive site. They're like little pop-up boxes, so I can delete those. Delete the advertisement. And then also I want to keep in mind that you want it to be easy to read. So it's not easy to read if there's a big space here and there's a little bit of a paragraph and then I got to jump over. There's no reason to do that because I've got all this real estate. So what I'm going to try to do is just even out the text a bit so that it doesn't look so dense. There's a lot of things I can do for that. I can start all the type down a little bit. I'm going to have a article by, and then I'm also going to have a credit for the photograph, which for you will be the illustration. So when I do that, you can see that I've got something called a widow, which is one word on a line. So let's move this over. Now it's starting to look a little more even. So I'm going to also hit return on this one and see how it turns out. There we go. That's pretty good. So from there I can just keep tweaking. Up here I'm going to write article by this person, and then I'm going to take these two, hold down the shift key to get them both, and I'm going to put a tiny credit line that says you know, art by, illustration by. And then from there I'm just going to keep on tweaking until I'm happy with it. And then when I'm happy with it, I want to export a PDF. I'm just going to say, let's see, SPC, I've got you in here. All right, SPC mag spread. All right, save. Now, all pages spreads. That's what I want. And the rest of it I'm not going to get into right now. That should be good enough. And last but not least, I'm going to use Acrobat and open this file. Desktop, SPC, mag spread. All right, so at 141, I want it to be smaller. And actually I can tell it to only print pages 2 and 3, which is what I meant to do, and that way you don't end up with that first blank page. But anyway, that's my two-page spread. It's not difficult, it just takes a few steps. Let me know if you have any questions.